Where do I even start? Men don't have side chicks because they necessarily found somebody better. They don't do it because they've stopped loving their women. They do it because they've stopped loving the version of themselves that they have become. A man chooses a wife to show the world that he is respectable, stable, responsible, man who does everything right, right? But the side chick, she's not competition. She's not the upgrade. She's the mirror where he sees the version of himself that he lost. That version matters because every man loses himself at some point in his life. The aggressive hunter, the man who chased, the man who felt desired, the man who felt free, the man who felt admired, the man who felt powerful, the man who wasn't buried under responsibility, pressure, and expectations. Marriage, fatherhood, life, they turn men into machines, providers, problem solvers, quiet warriors who carry everything on their backs every single day. And somewhere in that grind, he loses the wild part of himself, the confident part, the masculine part, the part that felt alive. The side chick doesn't give him love. She gives him oxygen. She makes him feel like the man he used to be or the man he thinks he used to be. This is why men do not cheat, why men have side chicks, and the truth, why men have side chicks.
Uh-huh. She said a lot. First time I listened to that, I was like, oh, she was really cooking. And then I had to meditate on that a little bit more. And there's some things in there that has some truth, but there's some things in there that I disagree with. Um, what's your take initially off of that video?
I mean, yeah, both things can be true. It just depends on who she spoke with, and again, people tend to speak for everybody. So she said men, she didn't say some men. So yeah, definitely some things to talk about. But I mean, the people having the conversation, so that's good.
We for the near future, like you, because you make it very clear we do this a lot, and we do. I catch myself doing it. So like in the future, we do have to say like some, or there's certain things you have to apply to these things because everybody is not a part of
Right.
the discussion itself.
Right.
Let's address the specific men that she's talking about. Is this a midlife crisis? Is this, oh, I'm older, I don't get to run the streets anymore, I'm not Ric Flair profiling and styling, and I ain't got a whole roster no more, I'm driving a Caravan and I don't feel like I'm desired no more, so I just want to feel like I'm still wanted. Let me go out here and test the waters. I still love everything I got going on over here, but I need to still feel like I'm that guy.
Again, man, because it's just not that simple. Because, like you just said, just using your example, for whatever reason, and she gave, I'll use her reasons. She said, truth that men won't admit. So I kind of had a problem with that right there. How's it a truth if no man admits it? Where did you, what's your measuring stick? How did you get validation from it? You know what I mean? So it's already painting men in a bad light by saying we're being manipulative. Men are being deceptive, deceiving, and which some people might be. But again, she just said men are like that. And then she said stop loving the version of themselves, kind of like you might have hinted to. I don't really subscribe to the whole midlife crisis thing. Again, I just think it goes back to obviously in her examples, the person wasn't even happy at home in her example. She was given all reasons that men basically weren't accountable, didn't communicate, and didn't have any self-control within themselves, so they went and tried to find it somewhere else. And I don't agree with that, but
yeah, that's what it sounds like to me too. We have this thing where men speak on the perspective of women and why they operate the way they do, and vice versa. That's what I hear when I listen to this. And look, man, there's nothing wrong with giving your own perspective of it, but I would rather you actually, I don't know, ask me or have the conversation with the other person. Have the women in the room, have the men in the room, and then yeah, I can go ahead and throw all of this out there in the mix. But she's assuming, and it's coming from somewhere. Like, she didn't just come up with that for no reason, right? I can't speak for all men. I'm gonna tell you right now, for me, if I'm locked in, or like I have my eyes and my mind and my heart set on one specific person, the discipline in me is not going to allow me to stray off nowhere else. I don't care if I'm 50, 60 years old, right? Because that's how I was raised. I feel, or I look at what she said, and it's like, yeah, you're trying to lump everybody in the same boat because of your experiences, and you can't do that. But what you're saying, you're trying to tell me that every man out here is always going to have somebody waiting in the wing just because they just want to feel like a part of their past is still with them, or they don't want to let go of who they used to be or something like that. And that's not the case. Most of the time when we progress and we get older, it's not all of us, but it's a majority of us. We do not want to continue on in our old ways. We want to be better than what we were. So I definitely disagree with that part.
no, yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It talks, what she said. It leaves a lot on the table as far as men growing. You know what I mean? Like you just said, and that maturing, that maturation part. As if you can't evolve. And in those relationships, you will hope that the conversation piece is being had. And then sometimes if those two don't grow together or evolve, then I can see then, you're using that as an example. But you got to get, again, give both perspectives. You got to tell us why. You just can't say these things are happening. It has to be, a buildup. It has to show the attempts were made. It had to show that the failures were made. And then this is the result because of that. Was it a conversation had? Is it an agreement? You know what I mean? I just think it's a lot. And it's a good conversation piece, but you just have to be careful that all the examples that you throw out there and how you stigmatizing people.
I would have understood if she would have said, look, there are some people who live like this, and then there's others who are loyal. And I can't stand when men and women do it. But because of specifically talking about her, I can't stand when a woman in her position will utilize a platform and then generalize everybody in one lump sum. But you're not being unbiased.
Right.
You're just essentially throwing shade without actually throwing shade. You're just doing it in a polite way. But we all know that everybody don't think or operate the same way. So that go back to why I keep saying, man, if you have a platform, you got to be careful with what you say and how you word it, because someone might hear what she said and be like, oh, that sounds smart as hell. No,
Right.
like, what the fuck? No, that shit ain't smart as hell. She's talking about how she was raised and what she saw when she was dealing with men and her friends were dealing with men. That don't speak for everybody.
Right. And that's what you got to be careful of, because somebody watching this could be like, "Oh man, she hit the nail right on the head," and it just goes from shared experiences, and that's what people naturally gravitate towards too. But yeah, like you said, you just got to be careful, and and the guy in the video, who was the coach? I don't know which one was who, but he was shaking his head and agreeing with everything. So that didn't give it any more. That didn't make it any better. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the intent was behind the video, but it definitely didn't make us look, look good.
I like that. I like that you said shared experiences, because that's how we monetize. Right. That's how we connect to our audience. Things that we are extremely relatable to. That's why you have Andrew Tate, you have this person, you have that person, because they talk a certain type of lingo that you connect to. But you're putting people at a disadvantage, because if I go to you as an opposing comment section and my argument is, nah, it's not like that, then what you're going to do, you're going to create a group of hateful feminists and a bunch of incel, evil, bitter people fighting against you because they've automatically found their cult leader. And that's how, like, it really be like that. You'll find somebody that you connect with. They're funny, they're charming, they're witty, they know how to make you laugh, they know how to bring you in, they know how to tell stories and talk about certain things that was going on in their past and history, and you be so locked in. It's like, damn, I found my spirit animal and all that weird spiritual shit. So then you bring somebody on the outside, they don't look at life the same way you look at it. They didn't have the same experiences you did. So when they start coming in the comment section or they start interacting with the main person, the people who have been sticking with you for X amount of years, they be like, hold on, who is this? What? No, we don't do that over here. We don't accept your logic over here. No, you're weird. Get out of here. You must burn. I can't stand that stuff. So try to be open-minded with everybody's points of views, because you might get something out of that you're not getting from that person. Her specifically, she's saying all men basically they can't be loyal. They don't have the willpower to do so. Essentially, they're just running off of pure, raw, unadulterated testosterone, and they're just dogs in heat constantly.
Yeah, it would have been pretty cool if she would have threw out some examples to kind of support it, what she was saying a little bit, or it had another person, another point of view, a male on there to maybe kick back, give her some pushback about some topics. But a lot of times that ain't what people's looking for. They just want to get their word out there, 30, 40 seconds, and then just post it, see what happens. But yeah, that's what happens with misinformation too, man. Blind leading the blind out there sometimes.
And Austin and the animation story. So basically what happens here, there's a video. The woman basically is saying that men essentially have side chicks because they are still trying to hold on to a part of their past where they were still desired. They miss it, or they're having a hard time letting go of it. So the side woman It's not essentially there for the love part, but she's there to feel an emptiness that he has because he let go of that and he moved on to being a stable, level-headed person. Basically saying that men don't have no self-control. They just are rabid animals humping everything that they see. And yeah, y'all need to accept that as women. You can never just have him to yourself. That's the translation I got from it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And that's dangerous. You can't just put all that out there like that. And it would have been nice if she had somebody other than the guy who I don't know who the hell he was, that was like, yep. Like, bro, y'all gotta stop doing that, man. You have to push back. I don't know if he agreed because he actually agreed, or if he was just actually believing that that's 100% accurate. But there's a lot of ways you can actually dissect this. She didn't offer enough. Just going off of what I heard it just sounds like she's trying to shame men without actually shaming them.
Yeah, I mean, it's some. I don't know. It just depends on which direction you want to go with it. But yeah, you can definitely talk about some other stuff that was some underlying things she was discussing in the video.
I do have a question.